Hello, my friends. Good to see you. I'm Kayla, and it's time for a week of horror. As usual, I have a vibe that I want, but I don't really know what I want to read. So I thought I would add in my favorite thing to video concepts, predicting stuff. I love predicting what my ratings for books are going to be, and I'm very often wrong, so there will definitely be some surprises along the way. I have so many 2025 horror that I need to catch up on. Some that are on my TBR shelf, like Blood on Her Tongue and The Bewitching, some from the library, like Hungerstone and The Unworthy. I don't know where I put this. And then some new releases that are just coming out this week, like 13 Months Haunted, What Hunger, A Game in Yellow, and I'm going to predict 5 horror books that I think I would give each rating to. Like, which of the horror books on my TBR from 2025 do I think would get 5 stars? Which one do I think would be a 4? Which would be a 3? Which would be a 2? And which would be a 1? You might be thinking, why would you pick up a book you think is going to be a 1 or 2 star? I only read books that I'm interested in, but there are so many horror books, especially that do end up in that range. So I just figure like a good amount of the ones that I read will be there. So I figured we need a little tier ranking so I can actually organize my thoughts first. First up, let's talk about the horror books that I've already read from 2025. I haven't actually read a 5-star one yet. Immaculate Conception was the closest at a 4.5. A 4-star went to When the Wolf Comes Home, Bat Eater, Buffalo Hunter Hunter, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. And then I gave a 3-star to Eat the Ones You Love. The Way Up is Death. That's like sci-fi. Direct Descendant is kind of more fantasy, but I Can Fix Hers. And then for 2 stars, The Starving Saints and Victorian Psycho. I haven't had a 1-star, which is great. I'm still looking for that 5-star. If you're new here and you want to get a quick idea of my taste in horror overall, look for like your favorite horror book and see where I ranked it, and that'll give you a gauge for how I feel about all of these horror books. And this week we're going to read 5 more and add 5 more to here. Here is a bunch of the horror that has come out in 2025 or comes out this week. There's a ton of 2025 horror that I'm not interested in. I could also put all of those on here for you. They're not in their assigned numbers. We're going to do that right now. I guess let's just start at the top. House of Monstrous Women. I feel like I'm going to say a bunch of these are just going to be 3 stars. More often than not, The Bewitching, let's put in 3 stars. These are ones that I'm interested in, but early reviews haven't made me super excited. They're just things that are still on my radar. I think I'll probably like, and I feel like I go into most books thinking they're going to be a 3. What Hunger I've seen hype about. Cannibalism type books and like women becoming obsessed with consuming things and like female rage being at the forefront, I know is in a lot of horror. I know a lot of people love it for a lot of reasons. I don't know if that's my favorite right now. I feel like I would end up giving that maybe a 2. I also feel that way about Shy Girl because it's about a woman who like gets treated like a dog, like maybe starts acting like a dog. I don't think that's really going to be for me, but I did recently buy it. I am intrigued by it. We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough is probably going to be a 1 just because I've given that author a 1-star twice before, but I've also given her a 5 once before. So you might be thinking that should be a 3, but no, I definitely think that will be a 1. Hot Singles in Your Area I also think will be a 1 just based on other people's reviews. This is one of the lowest average rated books on my TBR. Tantrum, like I like Rachel Eve Moulton. I've given her a 5, but Tantrum is about like an evil baby, and I think that'll probably end up being a 2, but it's a novella. And even if like concepts that I don't totally love are in short form, I sometimes love them, but I feel like objectively that makes the most sense there. Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. I just read a Chuck Tingle that was a 3, but I appreciate, and I've DNF'd. But weirdly, I feel like I want to put this in a 5 because it sounds like absurdist horror, and that's definitely my thing. And I know that I like his writing already. How to Survive a Horror Story didn't really intrigue me until people started talking about it, and now I am intrigued, and I feel like I'm gonna like it, and it's gonna be a 4. I seem to remember people saying it was like kind of over the top and weird. Our Winter Monster looks weird. I feel like that's probably gonna end up being a 3. I'm more intrigued by things that I think are gonna be a 2 or a 5 or a 4 because there's the chance that it does end up being a 5. You know what I mean? And a 3 just feels like it's gonna be 3. Bojka, I was really intrigued by, and then early reviews have said it's just okay, so I feel like it's gonna be just okay. Girl in the Creek I'm also gonna put in the 3. I love the idea of like foresty folk horror, but more often than not it does end up being a 3 for me. House of Beth I also think is gonna be a 3, about a woman going in and like taking over another woman's life family after she dies, but she's being haunted by her. Like that just sounds like a 3. The Unworthy I would have put higher, but early reviews I think that might actually be a 2 for me. Blood on Her Tongue I also feel like is gonna be Is that a 2 or a 3? It would have been a 2, but I had a couple people mention it on Instagram saying like this is their horror of the year. So maybe, though it does seem to be about consumption and female rage, maybe this one's a 3. Mayra, I'm also gonna put there. It's like obsessed friendship vibes. Hungerstone, more consumption, cannibalism stuff. I don't really know how I'm differentiating 3s from 2s right now. 13 Months Haunted I also think will be a 4 because the last Jimmy Giuliano I read was a 3.75 and I really liked the concept. It was so fascinating that I think he's probably doing something interesting. And then A Game in Yellow, I would have put up here, but early reviews have totally turned me off from this book. And now I'm starting to think it's gonna be a 1. The amount of DNFs I've seen in the last couple weeks is staggering. So I think it's really been turning people off, which could end up being a 5, you know? But I'm gonna put it in the 1s. So here are my predictions without thinking about what I actually wanna read. Here's where I would place everything. And I'm just realizing I only put 1 in the 5-star slot. So this week I will be reading Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle as my 5-star prediction. For my 4, oh, this is so hard. I actually kind of wanna read both of them. Can I test them both out? Is that allowed? For 3s, I really don't know. I think I should read something off of my actual TBR, so I'm leaning toward The Bewitching or Blood on Her Tongue. Can I try out both of them? Am I allowed? For 2s, this one's tough. Okay, I kind of want to pick Tantrum. I kind of want to pick Shy Girl. I kind of want to try What Hunger, and Hungerstone I obviously have. That one's the hardest one. And then for 1 stars, I'm just going to do A Game in Yellow because I think it has the potential to be really highly rated, or I absolutely hate it and I'm intrigued by which direction that's gonna go. So here's my initial TBR. I have 10 things to choose from and I'm gonna end up reading 5 by the end and we'll figure out which ones. I might have put it in the thumbnail already, but let's see what happens. Liam and I just spent the afternoon at the beach. I cannot oversell how perfect the weather has been this summer. Maybe not for tourists, but like we've had a hot week, then a rainy week, then a hot week, then a cold week, then a hot week. Like we haven't had 40-degree weather every day. There hasn't been fires everywhere. Like there are still some, but we're usually just smoked out and it's way too hot to even go outside. But this has just been like the perfect temperature and it's supposed to drop down a little bit over the next couple days. And it's just, it feels so good because I actually want to be outside. The lake is still perfectly refreshing. Like it's literally the perfect beach weather. It was 30 degrees. It was great. Now he's off to work. And while we were there, I started Blood on Her Tongue. This is the one I decided on. The beginning opening was more intriguing than The Bewitching. It's about these 2 sisters. They're grown adults and one of them, well, they send letters back and forth. It's 1887, and Lucy and Sarah. Sarah has been sending Lucy a bunch of letters, one of them most recently about this woman, this dead body found in a bog. And soon after these letters, another letter comes, and it's from someone who lives in the manor. And they're like, you need to come quick. Your sister's dying. Come be by her side. So when Lucy arrives, Sarah is unwell and in fact like biting people who are trying to help her. And just, I don't know if she's being haunted or possessed or if she's turning into something, but it's so very intriguing. What I love most about Gothic books is the description. And I always talk about how it's often somebody being invited to a manor and like the getting there is so intriguing and the arrival and like the descriptions of the manor. We didn't really get much of that. The descriptions are more about the people and their interactions and like some body horror stuff, which like makes sense. But I want more about the surrounding and the atmosphere. I want it to feel more genuine to its setting. Like the dialogue doesn't always feel like it's set when it's supposed to be. And I think that we could combat that a little bit with more description. of like where we are in time and place. I want to enjoy the story of the commitment of sisters. I think a lot of people will get a lot from that because she is so committed to helping her sister. She doesn't want to see her in an asylum, but she clearly, to everybody around, is losing her mind, and she wants to help her and wants to protect her and do everything that she can. And I said recently in a video that it's weird how like I don't love sisterhood stories. Like all of the major sistery books that everybody loves, I don't love the same way. And this is another sister focused one that I wasn't even thinking that's what it was when I picked it up. For some reason, I thought this was like really a sapphic story, but I might be mixing it up with something else. There's a lot of gothic horror that kind of all sounded the same this year. It's inspired by Dracula, especially. Yeah, maybe I am mixing up with something else. Anyway, it's going fine. It is going to be a 3, so at least I'll be correct about that. I have finished my book. It's very late at night. I love, if I haven't talked about it enough, the smooth aardvark books. They feel so good. I'm going to donate this at the end of the year because it was indeed a 3-star. So I feel good because I read one of my aardvark books, so it's not just sitting on my shelf. I guessed correctly, but the bad news is, it was only a 3-star. I unfortunately just didn't find myself really caring about the characters or what was going on. If you loved, I want to say Mexican Gothic and What Moves the Dead, I gave both of those 3 stars as well, then this could definitely be for you. There were actually many, many years that I specifically stayed away from Gothic books because I didn't like them. So this isn't a super rare situation. I liked it enough. The writing was good. The vibes were interesting, but I just really failed to care about the characters. So all of the shocking things that were happening, it wasn't like that shocking. It wasn't a really twisty book, but anything that was revealed or anything that happened that made you question the characters' like motives or morals, I just was never that invested to begin with, so it didn't have any impact on me. It was definitely more of a serious horror tonally, but there were some like kind of fun moments that made it feel like almost a parody of itself. Like the second half went in a, like there was some just like kind of a goofy direction. I think this could definitely work for a lot of people. I understand why it's a favorite of so many. For me, it's a 3. And tomorrow I'm gonna go book shopping. Today is my 4-star reading day. I figured I would go up and then maybe I'll go back down. We'll do a 2, we'll do a 5 prediction, we'll do a 1 prediction. Today is the release day for Lucky Day and A Game in Yellow. So I'm gonna head to the bookstore. I'm gonna buy both of those. I was planning on that regardless. But I'm testing out 13 Months Haunted and How to Survive a Horror Story. So while I'm at the bookstore, I can pick whichever one I've selected up. In 13 Months Haunted, I got 6% of the way into the audiobook, and at that point it was pretty much just the synopsis. We had a librarian working at a middle school, and there was a girl in her class who was weird, and there's rumors of her mom being a witch, and the rest of her family died. And that's kind of it. I don't love the writing style of it. I've heard people love it for the nostalgia because it's set in the early aughts, and there's definitely a lot of pop culture references from the time, just like Dead 11 did for the 90s. So I think that'll be enjoyable. I've seen other people say that it's like a satisfying read. Everything kind of comes together at the end. After reading the first couple chapters, I now think it's probably going to be more like a 3-star. How to Survive a Horror Story. I also listened to the first 6% and then I compared the two and I decided to continue with that one. And I'm now 20% in. And I also now feel like maybe it could be closer to a 3-star, but this has the potential to be good because in the other book, nobody said in any of their reviews that I saw that there was like a twist or a reveal or anything really interesting, just that it was a satisfying thing. And in this one, there's a bunch of deaths, and I think there's the potential of it being twisty and turny. Even if the twists don't surprise me, at least they're there. All the authors have been invited to this man's house who is a famous horror author. He has this giant manor, and they've all been promised some sort of inheritance or the reading of the will when they get there. And I wish that the audiobook was full cast, which is why I want to switch to it physically, because we are kind of getting all of their perspectives and slowly learning like how they even knew Mortimer, was that right? And each of them kind of have their own secret, it seems. Like one of them was talking about how the author sent them a letter every single month, like some kind of blackmail. So I am most intrigued by it. I don't think I also love the writing of it. Like it's not doing anything special for me. Yeah, Mortimer Queen. Okay, we have one character, Melanie, who seems to be the least reasonable to be there. The rest are other horror authors, and she's just this random girl. And I wonder if the people who were invited, because they're giving off like kind of weird vibes, maybe they're invited there because Mortimer didn't like them, as opposed to what they all think, which is that Mortimer wants to give them something because he liked them so much. I think this is more of a like bad thing. Well, obviously bad things are about to happen, but I think going into it, I thought maybe one of the authors is starting to kill the others to get more of the inheritance. But I think it's actually maybe all of them are set to die by the end because they're actually bad people. I'm gonna go do all of my book shopping, and then I'll come home and show you what I got. Like this one?
No. You dropped all the bucks.
Yeah. I actually really like that cover.
There you go.
I told you I'm buying every one that you point at.
No.
Thanks for adding the ASMR.
I should go pro.
At finding books.
Yeah.
They're hiring right now.
I don't care about how much about $53,000 for everything I've ever wanted.
Okay, you don't have $53,000.
Before we go, Facebook Marketplace, let's find a Tacoma. I think this is what I want. I think this is it. Not too big of a truck, but a truck. Wait, does a Tacoma have 4 seats? I'm guessing so.
I don't know. Do you guys who have purse charms, like, do you just walk around sounding like this? Or do you specifically have ones that don't jingle jangle? Because I just got my first one from, is it Anthropology? And I think it's so cute, but I'm so annoying. Like, I irritate myself, and I bet I irritate other people, and I need to know where to find cute charms that don't do that. Maybe I can unclip it and put it on a different part, so that part's not.
It's got 5 seats just like this.
Okay. Oh, I got some books.
No, we don't want to. Oh! Oh, no, that's renting one.
As soon as we
$400.
As soon as we walked into Mosaic Books, this was sitting on the new table, and Liam gravitated right towards it. So of course we bought it. And then a game in yellow, also very exciting. Aardvark just announced that this is going to be one of their September picks. They have a limited edition one. It looks so pretty, so I'll make sure to tell you if this is good and if you need to get it from Aardvark. I couldn't wait. Otherwise, like if I wasn't reading it this week, I would have waited for that edition, but I'll let you know if you need it. Okay, I just got back from book shopping, and I have reading sprints for my channel members starting very soon. And I'm trying to convince myself to continue in How to Survive a Horror Story. I continued listening a little bit. I feel okay about it. I saw it in the store and I was gonna pick it up. It was like $25. It had ugly sprayed edges, and I kept thinking, if I give this 3 stars, then I unhaul it at the end of the year. So I'm just gonna commit to the audiobook. But it was hard because there was another book that I bought that I feel like I could swap in. I don't know if it would ruin the intent of the vlog. I ended up picking up those 2 that I showed you, and then one other thing that maybe I'll talk to you about. And I had a package waiting for me, and it is Paladin's Grace that I ordered actually not too long ago. Usually from the UK it takes like 6 weeks to get to me. This one was only maybe 3 weeks since I ordered it, and I just think this is so much prettier than this one, and I already know that I like it. I gave it 4.5 stars, so I'm excited to have this on my shelves. I didn't order the rest of the series. I'm not sure why, like maybe I should have gotten them all together, but since I read this one, a bunch of people have been telling me I have to continue, so we'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna do one reading sprint. I'm gonna edit my TikTok that I just filmed, and I will check in with you on if I'm continuing my book or not. Midnight update. I have been staying awake far too late lately. But Liam's at a sleepover, Rob's asleep, and I'm just like, I have no reason to go to bed. And it's bad for me. I think I am going to finish the book before I go to sleep. I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook. I did decide to commit to it because that was the spirit of the challenge. I've been doing some coloring in the Spooky Cutie coloring book, and then I've been doing a puzzle, like a virtual puzzle, and I've just had a nice time listening to the audiobook. I don't love it, but I was getting impatient, and that's on me. Like, I was only 30% of the way in, and I hadn't even gotten introduced to the main thing driving the plot, which is that this house is hosting, like I say the house, like, is the house in control? Is it the author? Is it his assistants? Like, who's actually controlling it? But there's weird stuff happening within the house, like truly haunted horror stuff, because the pitch sounds pretty mystery thriller. I've read a lot of mystery thrillers like this, but there's a challenge. Like, the characters have to put together, solve some riddles, and figure out the clues behind who each riddle is talking about, basically. And it's like, who's going to reveal what they've done at what point. I feel like this was a good follow-up to Reading with a Vengeance by Riley Sager, and if you read that and you wanted it to be more horror, this might appeal to you, because it equally goes through all of the characters' backstories one by one, and you find out like what's really going on with them and the person that they truly are in the slow, drawn out way that With a Vengeance did. But then as they're doing the challenges in the house, like they're falling through things and like the house is kind of changing. It's not a really extreme haunted horror, but it's more like on the goofy kind of side, but the characters take it very seriously. So the tone is interesting, and I like that it's a challenge that they have to solve things. But I will tell you what I was going to switch to, and that's The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas. This is not out yet, and I shouldn't have purchased it. But when I saw it in the bookstore, because I know I'm not going to be at the bookstore for next new release Tuesday because we're going on a little trip, I was like, let me just buy it early, and when I get bored of the book that I'm currently reading, I'll switch to this, and it'll be fine, because like this is truly a 4-star prediction for me, because I've given Isabel Cañas 4 stars both times before. So this was a very genuine 4-star prediction. I was just going to swap it in, but I am enjoying this one more, and like I want to stick to my commitments. And also I'm liking listening to an audiobook, because it's been a little while since I've listened to one fully just as an immersive audio experience. And this, obviously it's not out, so the audiobook isn't out, so I would have had to read it physically, and then having to read the entire thing in one day, because I'm trying to do a book a day this week to get this video up before we go on our trip. Everything just made sense to stick with what I said I was going to do. And now I'm approaching the end, and I've said before, I like mess, and if you're someone who likes mess and gossip, getting the characters' backstories, because we see them in the house, and then we have these little short stories where we're seeing something that happened with that character in the past that led up to this event. There's a lot of gossip and mess within that. All right, it was only a 3-star read, maybe 3.5, actually 3.5. I'm not too far off from my prediction with a 3.5. I will definitely go on to recommend this book to a lot of people, especially people who are starting out their journey in horror. I feel like if I was somebody who didn't read a lot of horror and I had just consumed movies in that genre, this is what I would think that the horror genre, bookish wise, was about. Like, this is what it encompassed. This is a perfect example of what I would expect from a horror novel. A group of people go into a malevolent house and they start getting picked off one by one while it reveals the truths about these characters. Like, that's just the vibe of it. And it's a decent time. It's a debut novel. Nothing in here was poorly done, but nothing was like exceptional. You know, the characters, they had backstories, but they weren't characters you felt so close to or interested in. The house was kind of its own entity, but didn't necessarily feel like really its own character. There wasn't twists and turns necessarily that really shocked. The riddles weren't something that you could necessarily solve. It was more about watching the characters put some clues together. It wasn't the most intricately woven story, but it was entertaining. I would describe it as The House on Haunted Hill meets The Inheritance Games meets Goosebumps meets Willy Wonka. Those are the vibes of this book. If that intrigues you, then pick it up. So that means I have officially checked off 4 and 3 with those 2 books. And the only decision to be made is my 2 stars. So I figured today I would just read the first chapter of all of them and see what intrigued me. So I have read the first chapter, actually the first 2 chapters of each of the books. This one feels like something you read just for the shock value. I don't know if it'll do much for me. It's just like the craziness of this woman deciding to be a dog for this man, and the thing that she's going to benefit from this relationship. Hungerstone, I think, is probably going to be fine. It's a gothic novel. There's a man and a woman, and they are married. She was talking about the life that is offered to her now and that she gets to live, and then they had maybe his business he's not taking care of properly, and then they go drive and there's a wagon that's turned over and a woman that they helped and they're gonna bring with them. I want to be clear, just in case because some people I think rate books differently, and just in case you thought that I was someone who rates objectively, I'm not. A lot of books that I give 2 stars, it's not that I think they were like terrible books, it's just that I didn't like them. So a lot of the books that I give 2 stars, I agree had a good message. I just think a lot of times they're very obvious and I don't get a lot from the books. And I do feel like this and What Hunger and Tantrum are all in this realm, that they're gonna have interesting things to say. They have a very clear theme, and it's just a really obvious thing that they want to talk about. They want to talk about feminism. They want to talk about female rage. They want to talk about oppression, and that's respectable. I think I just want something like, I want to go into a book maybe not knowing what it's trying to say or for it to play with my expectations. And when I look at Lucky Day and A Game in Yellow, I have no idea what their goals are going into it. And I think that's really attractive to me. So I started What Hunger. We have a teenage girl whose brother just graduated from high school and he's going off on his own soon. And they have like this last kind of summer together. And it talked about familial expectations, I don't know, the pressures from family and like not embarrassing and how to behave in public. And there was a lot of arguing. It was not a couple chapters that I really enjoyed, but Tantrum also wasn't something that I would say I enjoyed, but I do think this one has the potential to do something, like for something to happen, some type of twist or something beyond just like pregnancy and motherhood is really hard and here's my evil demon baby, and like that's a representation of how difficult it is in reality to have a baby. Like sometimes you feel like you can't do anything right and you have too many responsibilities, and like what if you're messing up your child? Toxic mother-daughter relationships. This one I think, it's not always my favorite thing. This one I think has two. It's got our main character and her baby and our main character and her mother. But I just have faith in Rachel Eve Moulton that like the book is gonna go in an interesting direction. And also of all of these books, I feel like this is the one you probably haven't seen anybody talk about. So in the off chance that it's really good, I want to be the person to let you know it's really good. Or it could be a flop. But you know what? If it's a 2, at least I'm correct. I understand why these two especially are getting high ratings. I understand why people would recommend them to me. They're obviously on my own TBR. They're something that I wanted to try out, but I don't really feel like they're going to do anything that's gonna really do it for me in this moment. I don't think Tantrum is either, but there's a chance. There's a chance. And I'm more interested in that one than Shy Girl, just because again, like what else is this gonna do? Like, is this really gonna have anything to say beyond like the animalistic nature of women and embracing that like beast within you? I don't know. I don't know if this is the right decision. You might fight me on it, but I'm gonna listen to the audiobook. I wasn't planning on doing another audiobook back to back, but this is not available in any of my bookstores. Like nobody stocked it. And I wanna know if it's good. I did just listen to the entirety of the book without updating you because at every couple pages I was considering DNFing it, but I just didn't want to give up on it because I was so close to the end by the time I started hating it. So I filmed like what I wanted to be a montage of me reading it, reacting to it, because people were leaving reviews that were like, what the fuck, that ending, oh my god. And I thought we were talking in a fun way. But here's the thing, this is the perfect example of what I was talking about. There is nothing wrong with this book, and I am giving it 2 stars. I think that a lot of people will find this cathartic. Rachel Eve Moulton is without a doubt a feminist author, just like it says on her website. And her themes have such intention behind them. I just hated reading this book. I had a bad time. I couldn't wait for it to end. I was exhausted waiting for the arguing to stop. I can't believe how long the second half of this book felt. It was exhausting. The audiobook was a terrible idea because it felt like I was personally being badgered by a character, just arguing and arguing and arguing for 100 pages. I was trying to cheer myself up the entire time I was working on a puzzle. You can't even tell what it is. It's balloons. It's a bunch of balloons. I'm not gonna spoil the plot, but I will spoil the themes. So if you want to read this and you consider that a spoiler for the entire thing, totally fine. For one of the trigger warnings for this book would definitely be childhood sexual assault. And that was tough to uncover. Like, that's what the book was about. It's about like generational trauma the pain that is passed on, the cycles of abuse. It was definitely like powerful in nature. We have a character who's standing up for herself and what has been done to her. And there's an older character who is being confronted with like the way that they have handled and mishandled things. You know, like every generation does things differently. This is like kind of a parenting book. Like a lot of parenting is in here. And this couple is parenting their children a certain way based on wanting to be similar or different from who raised them. And so it's hard for generations to, you know, be open to the fact that the younger generation is doing things differently, or the way maybe you did things weren't perfect. And so there's a person being challenged, but it's not a positive. It's not a positive interaction ever at any point. The book is very healing, like for our main character, and I think it could be for readers for sure. But my God, it was so stressful to listen to, and I didn't enjoy myself. So even though I respect a lot of what it's doing, just this was an absolute chore to read. Like, I can't believe that is where we went with the story. The first half, like, it was about her and her daughter and realizing her daughter is like demonic. And then it starts to get like weird and fever dreamy and nightmarish. But then it's like, here's what's actually happening, and let's confront each other and argue and say very mean things for like 100 pages. Once again, I feel good that my prediction was correct, but I feel bad because I read another book that I didn't love. That's okay, because I think I kept the two most interesting ones for the end. I did that on purpose, but it's a lot for me to be wading through, and I'm sure it's a lot for you to be wading through at this point, but I think it's gonna be worth it. Today I'm reading my 5-star prediction, Lucky Day, and it feels like a lucky day because I woke up to a new Chase Atlantic song. So I was just bopping around my kitchen first thing in the morning, making my eggs, listening to my new favorite song. I've heard it like 80 times already because they played it live, so I've been playing over the concert footage for the last couple weeks, but this means we're getting closer and closer to like an extended version of the album, which I think is what they're coming up next. Anyway, let's talk about this adorable little bow bookmark that I got. It came in a pack of 2. I'll put it right here. I can't remember the brand name. I think it was Frank. And it's like literally the cutest thing ever. And it matches the hot pink on the cover and of my next book. I read the first 40 pages and I was a little bit worried because it started out a little bit stressful, just like last night's book did, where we have this contention between a mother and daughter. She attempts to come out to her mother at a celebratory lunch, and it doesn't go over well. But before it can get too stressful and argumentative, another stress comes into it, and that's that the world is just crumbling around her. Vera in her job deals with a lot of numbers and probability and odds, and feels a sense of comfort with like knowing and feeling prepared for like how likely an event is going to happen. So with everyone suddenly dying around her and all of these extreme circumstances happening, that's obviously stressful, but it's especially stressful for her because she spends her life feeling very prepared for like everything that could happen, and the odds of all of these terrible things happening at the same time are impossible. So this is a really absurd situation she's thrown into. There's all of these vehicles crashing, and there's pigs with masks on running through the streets, and there's an aggressive monkey killing people, and there's this mall that we're in that has a glass ceiling. Their shards are breaking off, and it's just like all these people are dying around her, and she's just in survival mode. So it was very adventure packed the first couple chapters, and I think we're still in that. The synopsis talks about how there's like a casino that she has to figure out like where it came from or how it works or something. And I'm just wondering if that's going to happen amidst the chaos, or if there's going to be lulls in the action and the plot's going to like ebb and flow with quieter moments. And I don't know, we're just in a lot, which I think will grab a lot of people's attention who love, you know, survival horror. It's survival, but it's absurd because like everything just feels so colorful and goofy. It's very fun. I'm having a good time. I was a little bit worried at the beginning with the stuff between the mother and daughter, but I just dropped Liam off at work and I'm going to sit on the beach and read a little bit more. I'm not going to film anything because there are quite a few people out here, but I'm going to like imagine me sitting on a dock. The weather's nice today. It's cloudy. It's like 25. It's not like a lot of people are swimming, but it's the perfect temperature to just sit. I'm home to have lunch. I'm gonna make myself a yogurt bowl. I'm gonna watch, you can't see it, I have Smosh Summer Games Beppardy ready to go. I'm so excited to watch. And I got 130 pages into my book. I'm really liking it. We have gone forward in time a little bit, and our main character is teaming up with someone else, and they both have these theories about this casino that is running things illegally or unethically, and their odds don't totally make sense. So it's just so strange in this like absurd situation that we're dealing with something so mundane. And I'm interested to see what the heck, like where this is going and what we're going to talk about. I just came home to a package on my doorstep from, where do I order from? Natura Market. I've noticed that I can't find, like when you scroll through TikTok and you see people, especially from the States, who link like TikTok shop stuff or even things from Amazon and stuff, like we don't have the same things in Canada and I can't find them at the grocery store. I found that Natura has a lot of the TikTok things that I see in my feed. So here's a couple things that I ordered. Space balls. I love a cheese ball. I got from the same brand, crunchy cheese mo's. I also got protein popcorn, nacho cheddar. Can you tell? I'm a cheese girl. Also these that I kept seeing, Snacklins. These seemed interesting. They're plant chips and it's the nacho flavor. I picked them up so we had to have some things to take to the cabin on the lake that we're about to go to as soon as I finish this video. So let's try everything. I'll tell you how it is. Oh, these are very pale. See, now the point is they're organic, it's cleaner, real cheese, etc. And so the flavor isn't, you know, fake cheese. So maybe it's not as good, but it's less terrible things in your body. Now that I've eaten 4 of them and it's like melted on my tongue, it is good. I give these a 7.5 out of 10. Those are coming to the cabin. These ones, oh God, these ones are a horrifying color. Cowboy cheddar. They don't taste as strong as they look. That's not quite an 8, but it's better than the last one. So 7.75 protein popcorn. The texture is weird. Like they're almost wet. They don't have the bite of normal popcorn, but I think I really like them. This is not quite, I was like clean ingredient wise, so it does taste more like the sachets of powdered cheese that come with like Katie. That might be a 9 out of 10, but it's weird. I don't think everyone would like these. My family will not, so they're all mine, and they are coming to the cabin. Now these ones, they're like, I think they're supposed to look like pork rinds, which I've never had. I don't know about that. There's like definitely a fake pork kind of flavor, I think. It's made from yucca, mushrooms, and onions. The crunch is fun. The flavor is not accurate. Those are not coming to the cabin. I don't think anyone's gonna like those. Okay, bye. Quick review while the sun sets. Good news. I feel like I can recommend this, especially for fans of like horror and sci-fi when those meld together. If you love Blake Crouch, definitely recommend this. The bad news is wasn't my 5-star, so I was not correct about that. I want to give it like a 4, around the halfway point. It just wasn't as interesting, and I wanted it to remain really fun and absurd and silly, but I understand why it needed to go more existential, and I usually love existentialism. Is that even a word? And actually, it's not that I didn't enjoy those parts, because I like the introspection. I like all of the themes he introduced in here, and what maybe I just didn't like how investigative it felt. And we were really spending time with these 2 characters together, and one was so much stronger than the other. And so the one who was really leading the charge and investigating and like really trying to figure stuff out, like I wasn't interested in him or necessarily what he was doing, because I just wanted to have a little more fun. The main character is super interesting to follow because she's really just knowledgeable and thoughtful with everything that she does and she thinks. And she started out really not caring. You know, this tragedy happened to her and she had all of these thoughts like, well, what is my purpose? Like, what am I doing here? Like, why does anything matter anymore? She pushes a bunch of people away. And I think seeing her journey throughout it, her negative mindset didn't change a ton and it was reasonable. But I do think she finds a purpose and she goes on this journey and it was fun to follow. It was a pretty short one, so I don't want to give away any more of like what direction the plot goes, but those are the overall vibes. And tomorrow, my 1-star prediction, maybe that one will be a 5. Final book of the vlog, final day of the vlog, final chance to successfully guess my rating. Actually, I'm gonna be wrong because this isn't a 1. I don't have any 1-star feelings, but I don't have fantastic feelings halfway through. So I don't think we're gonna end up with a 5-star in this vlog, but I mean, we'll see. I love this cover so much. I love my little bow and how it matches. And I love the idea of this book. You know, eroticism and horror melding together. I am not shocked or concerned about what the book has done. I'm actually a little bit bored. I can recognize that the plot has gotten more interesting, but I don't feel like anything really exciting has happened. We are exploring the relationship between Carmen and Blanca, and they are exploring BDSM in their relationship. And Carmen has gotten a little bit bored. She can't find herself really titillated anymore. So they have to keep trying new interesting things. They're just exploring like breath play at the beginning. They've brought other people into their relationship, and Blanca knows of this person named Smoke who she wants to bring into the relationship. And so they all start to engage with each other. And Smoke has this play where the rumor has it, if you read too much of it, then you will just descend into madness, violence, crazy things. But if you read just enough, it like your mind like gets sucked in and you start to, I don't know, hallucinate, and just pure ecstasy can come of it. And so we have had that happen at the beginning. I remember of chapter 7, I felt like it was a really good example of how the feeling, like the author is using such dramatic language all the time, but it is to exude like that these are the most incredible feelings that Carmen has ever felt. So here's an example. She sat up gasping, feeling like she hadn't inhaled since ancestral fish first crawled from the ocean. Like, how extreme. Electricity shot through her, and she could have believed someone had hooked her nervous system and blood vessels to undersides power siphoning wires. Sweat beaded down her flushed neck, and her button-up clung to her sticky chest. Every inch of her skin screamed with quivering desire. Every single scene and every single paragraph is just filled with such heightened, not even emotions, like physical feelings. I like how they are checking in with each other regularly. Like Carmen is very, concerned that Blanca will think that she's not interested in her anymore because she can't get aroused in the same way, and she doesn't want her to feel like she's at blame. But obviously Blanca is trying to do anything that she can to satisfy Carmen, and that's why she's going to all of these lengths. But Carmen is going to, and at this point is taking things a little too far. Like, will do anything to get this book back in her hands because it's the only way that she can feel the way that she feels. It's clearly a metaphor for not even drugs specifically, but I think anything that you could get addicted to, certain feelings, a certain person, just that obsessive need that this is the only thing that can make you feel good. And she has no qualms about how bad it could get or any of the warnings that come alongside reading this play. I find it intriguing. The writing is effective. I just don't think it was quite the maybe wild kind of fever dream, like Mona Awad hallucination kind of style that I was expecting. But I've heard that I think the last couple chapters get really wackadoodle. So once I get there, I'll vlog myself just to see how it ends. final rating for A Game in Yellow, drum roll, is gonna be a 3. So this is actually the one that I was the most incorrect about. I should have thought a little bit higher of it. I did like the descent into madness. I always like books like that. I love play inside a book. I love when art and life intermingle. I love cosmic horror. Why it couldn't get a higher rating was mostly due to the characters and the insight that we got into them. I think I would have liked it actually from all 3 women's POVs. I think that really would have helped because the side characters felt so important, but then were also underutilized. I don't know if this just needed to be longer. I don't know. It was 260 pages, which is a really good length, but I just would have liked more insight into everybody's emotions and feelings. I think especially, I've said it a million times, when there is a pre-established relationship, it's hard for me to get into when we don't get much backstory into how they got together, why they love each other, like how their relationship has built. I, for one, feel low investment into their relationship to begin with. So when so much of it is about that, I'm just like not the most interested, I guess. And 2, I don't necessarily like understand the relationship or why they're even fight. Like regardless of me caring about them, I want to know why they care about each other. And I don't in here, especially when you have such an apathetic main character and we're focused on mostly her and her internal thoughts. She doesn't really seem to care about anything. So how am I supposed to get invested into this relationship when I don't know how much she even cares or why she cares about it? And then also when you have such an apathetic main character outside of the relationship, the thing that they are fighting for, the thing that they're learning about, the adventure they're diving into, whatever is happening in the story, I want to know how they got into it. Is it because like they just feel like they have nothing to live for? And so, you know, they're very naive and they get sucked into a situation. I've read stories like that, or they're so desperate, to find something that they've felt before, but like we get some of that, like then I can understand going into this certain journey. But when the situation isn't very fleshed out as far as like how you get yourself into a scenario like this, I find that I interpret it as like the author not allowing the character to have their own perspective, and the author is writing from their own perspective. And it feels kind of like well, we all feel this way, so I don't need to explain it because like, wouldn't this happen to all of us? If any of us came across this situation, we would all make the same decision, of course, right? So why would I give the reasoning behind a character making these decisions, side character making a decision, other character making all these decisions, because this is how we would all do it, right? And because I don't relate, I then feel like the book isn't written for me. I feel like I am being left out of some inside joke when I so deeply want to understand character motivations, and that's what was really lacking for me. But I enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the story itself. I enjoyed the introduction and the little insertions of the play within the book. I like the themes of control and of power. I like the dynamic of all of these women. I just want to know more about them, what they care about, and why they're doing what they're doing. I'm hard pressed to think of a good comp for this. I feel like a mix of All's Well is the first one that comes to mind. And then like The Book of the Most Precious Substance, a little bit, just as far as the sexual content, and then Ling Ling Huang in general and certain themes. But those are mostly books that I liked and I only gave it a 3. So I guess All's Well as far as the performance element of it all. But there's also a lot of talk about beauty standards and bodies and autonomy. So I'm giving it a 3. I don't know how broadly I'll be recommending this, but I know there's an audience for it. So all in all, I thought A Game in Yellow would be a 1, but in fact, it was a 3. I thought Tantrum would be a 2, and it was in fact a 2. I thought Blood on Her Tongue would be a 3, and it was a 3. I thought How to Survive a Horror Story would be a 4, and it was a 3 point something. And I thought Lucky Day would be a 5 when it was a 4. So I correctly predicted 2 out of my 5 ratings. 2, I gave pretty near, like just like the next tier up or down, and 1 I got pretty dead wrong. And I got to 5 horror books that I really wanted to read. I hope you're not disappointed by any ones that I chose, and if you want me to recreate this, like let me know what other 2025 horror you think I absolutely have to get to. We could perhaps do a spin-off where you predict my ratings. Maybe I could do a bunch of polls in my community tab publicly for everybody to vote on what they think I'm gonna rate something, and then I read 5 things again. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye!